Before we proceed, viewer caution is highly advised. The content that follows is intended for educational and entertainment use only. This is the direct federal courtroom testimony from the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as documented by Inner City Press. When Jamie Foxx entered the chamber, nobody anticipated what he would disclose. For months, speculation abounded. A perplexing medical incident, enigmatic Instagram messages, silence from associates, and murmurs that someone aimed to silence him. But now, under oath and before the world, Jamie is laying it all bare. He's identifying individuals, detailing what he witnessed at Diddy's notorious gatherings, and exposing the grim reality behind the industry's most influential figures. With his voice firm, yet his hands trembling, Jamie stated, "This was more than a health scare. This was a message, and I made it through." What ensues is testimony laden with secrets they vowed would remain hidden. From vanished recordings to hush payments to the individuals who warned him, "Keep silent or you're next." This isn't mere speculation. This is Jamie Foxx's account, and it could be the trial's most explosive revelation. Jamie Foxx took the witness stand, dressed in a sharp black suit, his face reflecting the entirety of the ordeal he had endured. The courtroom was hushed with expectation. He had not spoken in public since his unexplained hospitalization, and now, rather than a prepared statement, it was sworn testimony. "They advised me against coming," he said composedly. "They warned, if I spoke, I wouldn't reach the courthouse." His words landed with the force of a locomotive. Jamie's voice remained steady, but its gravity permeated the room. He looked directly at the jurors. "But I've already endured hell, and if I don't share this now, I might not get another opportunity." Jamie clarified that prior to the alleged medical incident, something significantly more perilous had already commenced. He began to realize he was being followed. Same black SUV, different cities, and no license plates, he recounted. "I knew I was being observed, I just didn't understand why yet." He then described an event just days before his collapse. "There was an altercation on set. Someone unfamiliar tried to extort $35,000 from me, claimed they possessed footage of me at a party and that its release could alter everything. He didn't know the footage's content, but he knew who sent them." Jamie asserts he contacted the authorities immediately, and the individual was escorted away, but the signal was unmistakable. Someone sought leverage, and someone desired silence. He then informed the court that for weeks prior, he had been receiving anonymous texts from strange numbers, not in his contacts, saying things like, "Don't forget your origins, and you've witnessed too much." He initially dismissed it as a prank, but when his assistant received an email mentioning Jamie's daughter by name and her school, he knew the situation was grave. "That's when I instructed my team, if anything befalls me, don't label it an accident. And if I am taken down, ensure the truth is not." His testimony wasn't irate. It was precise, methodical, like a man who had mentally rehearsed this moment countless times. "I nearly perished, and not from a random stroke, a vaccine, or some medical issue. I nearly perished because I possessed too much knowledge and began posing the wrong questions." Jamie paused before delving into what he termed the true beginning of the end. He explained that merely a few days after the extortion attempt on set, he started feeling unwell, not fatigued, not ill. Office like something was amiss within me, but I couldn't articulate it. He testified that on the morning of his medical collapse, he awoke disoriented, finding it difficult to speak clearly, and experiencing intense pressure in his chest and neck. "I couldn't move my arm. I couldn't talk. I was looking at people, attempting to ask for help, and no words were coming out." His security detail rushed him to the hospital, where the initial diagnosis was ambiguous. Possible neurological event, stroke, seizure. They were uncertain. "But I knew," Jamie stated. "I knew it wasn't of natural causes." What followed were weeks of silence. His family released a statement expressing gratitude to fans and requesting privacy, yet offered no specifics. Even his closest companions were kept uninformed. Jamie elucidated why. "Because I trusted no one. Because in that hospital, while they were examining and scanning me, I realized this wasn't concluded. It had merely begun." He disclosed that police visited him at the hospital shortly after he started to recover, not solely to inquire about his health, but because someone had reported a tip that Jamie suspected he had been poisoned. "I didn't utter the word," he told the jury, "but someone close to me did. They overheard me telling my doctor, 'I feel like I was administered something.'" He said tests were inconclusive, but he wasn't persuaded that meant nothing occurred. "You don't require definitive proof when your body insists it was assaulted." Jamie shared that during his stay, his phone vanished. So did his personal diary. His home security footage from the night before his hospitalization? Gone. "My team went to retrieve it, and the system had been completely erased. Then, quietly, he added, I felt as though I had died, and perhaps that was the objective." The courtroom was still. The prosecution glanced at the jury, who sat impassively, absorbing his every word. "So, when people wondered why I didn't post a hospital selfie, it was because I wasn't participating in that. I wasn't going to act like I was fine when I knew I was nearly gone." Jamie took a breath and then uttered the name that seized global headlines. "Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, Diddy." He looked straight ahead and continued, "That's who I am convinced wanted me silenced." He explained that over the years, Diddy had invited him to numerous private functions. Initially, it was just networking, cool atmosphere, prominent names, costly champagne. You understand the scene. But over time, Jamie said the invitations became more exclusive and more unsettling. They'd instruct no phones. They'd require you to sign something. An NDA, but not merely about what you witnessed, but about who attended and with whom. Jamie described the parties as having a different atmosphere than anything he'd previously encountered. There were back rooms, velvet drapes, individuals, escorting others into shadowy corners, and I saw people I knew, politicians, athletes, actors, engaging in activities I knew they wouldn't want publicized. He stated he never partook. It felt improper, and I wasn't going to be ensnared in it. But that was the issue. When you refuse to play their game, you become a liability. He revealed that after declining an invitation to a party in 2022, someone from Diddy's entourage told him, "You're acting differently. You're forgetting who supported you early on." Jamie dismissed it, but later he began facing pressure from mutual acquaintances to cease bringing up certain topics in interviews. They disliked that I joked about the parties or mentioned specific names. Jamie also recounted a particular incident where he observed a well-known male artist departing one of Diddy's parties looking deeply disturbed. He said, "This individual was trembling, said he witnessed something in a back room that made him never want to return." The artist never spoke of it publicly, but Jamie remembered that moment distinctly and feared he might be next. As Jamie's testimony concluded for the day, he uttered something that left the courtroom in stunned silence. "If I didn't speak now, I'd be complicit in the silence. And silence is what they've employed to control everyone. But I'm finished being quiet." Jamie Foxx's voice dropped as he leaned towards the microphone. "This is the part that has troubled me for years," he stated, "because what I observed didn't make sense until I reflected on it." He started by referencing a seemingly innocuous interview segment that had gained viral traction, the one where he casually jested that Nick Cannon had once stayed on his couch at age 13. It was a laugh, a memory, but then I comprehended how profound it truly was. Jamie looked towards the jury. Nick wasn't merely crashing, he was seeking refuge. He described how Nick had confided in him about peculiar encounters and being introduced to the industry in ways that caused him discomfort. Jamie said, "Nick told me, 'You rescued me, man. Your home was a safe haven.' And that resonated with me. But what truly rendered Jamie's testimony unforgettable was what followed, the moment he explicitly linked these narratives to Diddy. Jamie alleged that numerous young artists, both male and female, had passed through Diddy's residences over the years, some vanishing from the public eye without explanation. You look back and realize they weren't ascending stars, they were disposable assets. The inference was clear, that the grooming and exploitation were far more extensive than just parties, that it was systemic, and that influential people were aware and remained silent. The room grew increasingly somber as Jamie Foxx paused before speaking again. "Now, I'm going to mention a name," he forewarned, "and I want everyone to listen intently. Kim Porter." Jamie's voice quavered slightly as he said her name. She wasn't merely Diddy's ex. She was a mother, an entrepreneur, and she was afraid. He informed the court that Kim had once confided in him at a private gathering just months before her passing. She pulled me aside. She wasn't smiling. She didn't discuss the industry. She said, "Be cautious about who you trust, Jamie. There are individuals observing us." He revealed that Kim had told him she was intending to speak with someone, either a reporter or a federal informant, about what she had witnessed over the years. She said, "I've seen too much, but now I'm weary of being silent." Jamie paused. And then, just like that, she was no more. Kim Porter's death in 2018 was officially attributed to pneumonia. But Jamie, along with many others, never found that explanation satisfactory. She was healthy, he said. She was active, and she was fearful. That's not a coincidence. He then mentioned Al B. Sure, Kim's ex and the father of one of her children, and the strange posts Al B, sure, made after her death. He claimed she was murdered. He said she should have contacted the FBI. And then he modified the post, as if someone had influenced him. Jamie told the court that Al B. Sure had contacted him privately afterward. He told me he no longer felt secure, that items had been rearranged in his home, that someone was monitoring his every breath. Jamie enumerated the names of others who had died unexpectedly in connection with Diddy. Heavy D, Andre Harrell. He stated, "They're gone, and the sole commonality among them, aside from Diddy, is that they possessed knowledge they shouldn't have." He also disclosed that two of Kim's closest friends had informed him she maintained a journal, one that chronicled conversations, events, and names. "That journal has not been located," Jamie said, "and I don't believe it was misplaced. I believe it was taken." The prosecution leaned in. This was the juncture they had anticipated, a connection between suspicious deaths, a terrified woman, and a man with the capacity to conceal it all. And then Jamie concluded with a single line that resonated through the courtroom. "Kim was prepared to talk, and now I'm speaking for her." The jury leaned forward. The spectators held their breath. Jamie Foxx had been building towards this instant, the night that altered everything. "It was early 2022, he commenced. "I received a last-minute invitation to a private function in Beverly Hills. I hadn't intended to go, but a friend persuaded me. Said it was merely drinks and music. Casual." Jamie paused. "It was not." He described arriving at an expansive mansion, the type where billionaires host weekend retreats. Security was stringent. Phones were taken at the entrance. "I found that unusual, but not entirely unprecedented," he said. What was distinct was the atmosphere. Jamie testified that as he entered, the music was subdued. Too subdued. People whispered instead of laughing. It felt like a somber gathering cloaked in designer wear. He said he recognized familiar faces. Athletes, rappers, executives, and individuals I didn't know, but who clearly wielded power. The rooms were dimly illuminated, candles abounded, curtains were drawn. And then a corridor. They referred to it as the Gold Room, Jamie said. "Someone informed me that's where the genuine networking occurred." Jamie didn't enter, but he claimed he saw something through a slit in the curtain that made his stomach lurch. There was a young man, couldn't have been more than 17, surrounded by men in suits, and he did not look well. He turned to depart, but a hand grasped his shoulder. "Stay, Jamie. You're one of us now," a man said. Jamie looked him directly in the eye and replied, "No, I am not." He left that night and never reconsidered, but he says the threats commenced shortly thereafter. Phone calls, anonymous direct messages, people telling me to remain silent before I met the same fate as the others. He concluded Part 6 with a chilling acknowledgement. That night, that's when I realized this wasn't paranoia. This wasn't Hollywood eccentricity. This was something different, something sinister. And now, standing in court, Jamie finally articulated what he'd been suppressing since that moment. "I witnessed it. I was never meant to, but I did. And I will never erase it from my memory." Jamie took a profound breath, clutching the sides of the witness stand as he plunged into what he termed the cover-up phase. After the unsettling night at the Beverly Hills mansion, Jamie said he started to document everything. "I began saving text messages. I instructed my security team to monitor the SUVs that persistently followed me. I installed additional cameras at my residence and even on set." But then he revealed something that caused even the judge to visibly react in his seat. "The morning following my hospital collapse, my home surveillance system had been erased. I mean, no glitches, no error notifications, just gone. Jamie's security team initially presumed it was a technical malfunction. But then we discovered the hard drive melted, not damaged, melted. He presented photographs which were admitted as evidence. The drive's casing appeared distorted, as if subjected to extreme heat. But that wasn't the extent of it. On the Back in Action set, just days before his health crisis, Jamie said he observed that production had become disorganized. Cables rerouted, security light sensors obscured. One night I tripped over a wire that should not have been there. I dismissed it with a laugh until I collapsed 2 days later. He testified that he requested behind-the-scenes footage from producers. Security. Cameras on set, hallway recordings, anything. But once more, he was informed the files were corrupted. Then came the most significant warning sign, the footage from the very night the $35,000 extortion attempt happened, gone. Jamie stared into the courtroom. How is it that wherever I am, cameras inexplicably cease functioning? Files vanish. Evidence disappears. It's not paranoia if it continually occurs. He said an anonymous crew member later sent him a screenshot, an email chain titled Foxx Fire Protocol. It contained bullet points, clear recordings, control narrative, and prevent on-set leaks. The production company denied its genuineness, but Jamie believed it was authentic. It corroborated all my fears. They were making preparations for me to vanish. When questioned why he hadn't disclosed this earlier, he replied, "Because I thought I could recover and move forward. But the more I uncovered, the more I understood this wasn't about recuperation. This was about survival." The courtroom remained frozen as Jamie proceeded. This was no longer just testimony. It was an admission of how narrowly he avoided never sharing his story at all. "I remained silent because I was afraid," Jamie stated frankly. "Because when you are confronting people with billions of dollars, private aircraft, and connections in every major media organization, what options do you have?" He conceded that after his hospitalization, he nearly signed a document, an NDA that would have provided him millions in hush money. They presented it through an intermediary. He revealed, said it would ensure my future, that I could retire in comfort. But the instant he read it, he understood its implication. Silence forever. "That's the strategy," he said. "They don't need to eliminate you if they can purchase your silence." Jamie disclosed that a close friend, someone still active in the industry, implored him not to testify. He said, "They'll ensure you never work again." And I responded, "Then I'll pursue something else, but I'm not dying with this truth unsaid within me." He then explained what altered his decision. Witnessing Cassie Ventura take the stand, I observed her tremble but not falter, and I thought, if she can endure it, I have no justification. He also acknowledged Albie Schur, Jaguar Wright, and others who spoke the truth when it was perilous, but primarily he gestured towards Kim Porter. "She perished attempting to shield her children. I survived, so I bear a responsibility." Jamie admitted he still harbored fears of reprisal, that unfamiliar vehicles still idled outside his gate, that a friend who assisted him in compiling evidence had recently been assaulted under dubious circumstances. "But if I perish speaking. That's more than most individuals ever achieve." His gaze met the judges. "This court may never find Diddy culpable, but I needed the world to hear this. I needed to state it audibly, on the record, with cameras active." Jamie's final words were not hurried. He took his time, addressing Diddy directly now, the man, seated mere feet away, whose expression remained inscrutable. "I was your associate," Jamie said. "I defended you. I laughed at the jests. I attended the parties, but I observed too much and you were aware of it, and you attempted to intimidate me into silence." Jamie's voice didn't escalate, but the intensity behind it suffused the room. "You tried to obliterate me, and when that failed, you tried to divert me, but I am still present, and now you must sit there and listen to what I have witnessed." He turned to the jury, then to the gallery. "This man," he said, gesturing towards Diddy, "is not merely a tycoon. He's not merely a public figure. He's an element of something more sinister, a system that preys on silence, a culture that barters souls for secrets." Then he shifted to the industry itself. Hollywood didn't just shield him, it elevated him. While individuals like myself, Cassie, and Kim were left to manage the aftermath privately. He called out the award ceremonies that continued to bestow honors upon Diddy, the publications that lauded him as a visionary, and the executives who were cognizant of the happenings but unwilling to forfeit their gains. Jamie concluded with a message not just for Diddy, but for anyone observing from the shadows. You constructed an empire on NDAs, baby oil, fear, and manipulation. But empires of that nature, they fracture. And when they do, they crumble rapidly. He stared directly at Diddy one final time. You told people I'd never speak, that I was too frightened, that I was indebted to you. Well, I owe you absolutely nothing. I owe it to myself to reveal the truth. The courtroom held its collective breath as he descended from the stand. Jamie didn't glance back. He had no need to, because the silence was at last shattered.